Welcome to a Space Engineers Let's Play. I am your host, Raymond Blair. Thank you for joining me on board the Star Vessel, Christian Starboat 96, version B. Life on a vessel is filled with hard work. I have to build a shuttlecraft in order to ferry myself to the Mariner, which is a logistical support vessel and escort for the Starboat. And now for some lore. The Starboat is one of 13 capital vessels commissioned by the Luna Colony. The 96 refers to this being the 96th model, and the V refers to this vessel's second refit. So the LCS Starboat 96B is the Lunar Confederate ship Starboat Type 96 Revision B. The landing at this docking port is a little difficult. But you know what? With a little elbow grease, it was squeezed in there quite nicely. Well, it looks like the Mariner took some damage to a driver's side nacelle in the rear. I guess this was due to that docking accident that happened earlier. Well, I guess it's nothing to worry about. You know, the Mariner has plenty of spare parts. Turning on the nanobot damage control systems should have this fixed up in no time. The Starboat can be a little hard to see when approaching on the night side. That's because it's got a silvery chromed hull which reflects light like the moon it is constructed from. Also, I sometimes get caught up with sightseeing, so I do not necessarily notice my speed. Fortunately, though, I adhere to a primal rule of space engineers, and that is to never ever fly directly towards any object unless you want to crash into it. This particular vehicle was never really designed for what I'm using it for. So, I am attempting to whittle away at some of the more unnecessary parts. Do you know what would really be convenient here? Some catwalks that would allow for me to go around the bridge without having to use a jetpack. This is a project I'm going to need to work on in the future. Now that I have worked a lot outside, it is time for me to freshen up so that I can get some bridge work done. The medical station is an amazing contraption. It seals my wounds, takes away my pain, cures my arthritis, and even freshens my breath. While I'm working at the bridge, though, I see that the radar has picked up an abandoned miner, a civilian one at least, in a nearby asteroid field. So I gotta go and embark to this site and clear the debris and maybe investigate the area to see if there's any criminals or pirates lurking about. When I worked on the shuttle earlier, I also installed the radar you see in the middle top panel of the cockpit. It uses the capital vessel's sensors and has the information relayed to the shuttle. What the radar does not tell me is that a pirate lays in waiting in order to kill me and take my vessels. What a low-down trick to feign death, then shoot when I'm close. Even though I must admit, it is a clever one, however. Still, the evil intent of this criminal clearly did not work out in his favor. So maybe this move on his part was not so smart, since he is now clearly dead. It seems to me that there is some existential philosophy to be found on all this. A guy could contemplate for hours on end about what just occurred. That's not my problem, though. Now that he will not be needing this uranium I found in his rusted junk bucket, I will instead put it to good use. My shuttle has been shot up, and it sparks all over the place. Frankly, I'm just surprised that it held up as well as it did. It is pretty fortunate, though, that the Mariner is equipped to handle situations such as this one. Otherwise, I probably would not get it fixed, especially if I had to do it by hand. After sweeping the area of hostiles, I can finally go back to work. Of course, this time I take better care on my landing approach, since my last time I buzzed the tower rather precariously. However, I still got some work that needs to be done at my docking and connecting procedures. Practice makes perfect. That's how the saying goes anyways. You know what, I'm also thinking, though, that it may be better to redesign the whole thing to be more user-friendly. I guess we'll just have to see about that. While we're on the subject of learning and practice, I have to build this unnecessary block in order to learn how to build the block I really want. Can't even use the damage control system. I must do it by hand in order to pass the progression tree. And it is a chore. Going back and forth to get the parts, then sitting there while my Tier 1 tool does a poor job of it is rather tedious. This is all in the day and the life. You would think there is joy in finishing the job when the block gets built. But the reality is that I did not need it, so it is ground down immediately. I did learn how to build the other blocks that I needed this block in order to progress to those blocks, but it turns out that I did not need those blocks at this time either. So, such is life. Well, now that the job is done and the debris has been cleared, it is time to leave and head back to the IMDC platform that I came across earlier. The Interplanetary Mining and Defense Corporation. Well, it certainly has its own particular style, I can say that. Although the platforms do tend to be nearly abandoned and run down, infested with reavers and replicant bots. While I'm docking, I will give more lore and exposition to this world of mine. The year is 2022, and the Confederacy of Human Worlds stand against the tide of the Damaseco incident. The Damaseco incident happened when an old engineer and his partner found an ancient Rosetta Stone while mining the dwarf planet Caris. Somehow this monolith became active as it was being transported to Damaseco Station, which was a research facility in orbit of the Uranian moon Miranda. By active, I mean it began to bend space and time, corrupting people who had transferred their consciousness into replicated robot bodies, also those who have cloned themselves. Stargates began to appear, which went to alien worlds that were infested with large sapient spiders called Sabroids. Needless to say, these events disintegrated the social order and the inner worlds of Earth, Luna, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, have joined together. This is known as the Confederacy, as each world is independent but have a common goal to reclaim the solar system. Now that I'm here, I need to dress for the occasion. Probably Reaver's in there, so I could go with the assault suit, but I think the soldier suit is more appropriate. It is always the calm before the storm that makes me feel the most nervous. Going up this elevator and stepping through the airlock is like going into the unknown. Have courage, that's what I tell myself, although this may be a lie. Zero gravity, close quarters combat certainly has its unique set of challenges. You know, one of those is addressed with magnetic boots. Even so, with this great footwear, I still stumble to get my footing when coming in with a jetpack. Now there it is. Here comes the big show. And it is a Skelly going to try and cut me with his tool. You know, I'm armed with a standard issue S10 pistol, so pretty much like shooting a pellet gun at these Reavers. This guy is relentless, and my weapon is so underpowered. I'm just getting handed upon by this guy. Clearly, I need to tactically retreat, rethink, and or upgrade my strategy. You would think that I should go to the medical station to get healed since I am seeing red, but a man has his priorities. So instead, I'm going to the locker to get more guns and more ammo, which is first on my mind, since, you know, I'm not gonna die just before I get healed. You know, I still get healed, just after the fact. Of course, when I go outside, a replicant lays in waiting to shoot me from the flank. Have you ever tried to fire a rifle with no ground to put your feet on? Needless to say, my accuracy is more than compromised. So, as a result, I just leave this belligerent outside and make my way indoors. However, I lock the outer airlock by turning it off, and hopefully, he is not smart enough to turn it back on again. Right away, a ghoster comes up from the basement as I turn to go inside. This kind of Reaver glows in the dark, and if he touches you, it burns with a freezing cold. It still takes a few shots, but the rifle does much better job, and the ghoster is killed in relatively short order. The way he dies, though, is so creepy. So later, I put 2 in the head for good measure. When in the basement, I find the cryo spawner, so I grind it down to disable it. You can still hear that replicant shooting outside, so I'm just going to have to deal with him next. Can I hit him? Both feet on the ground. Take a breath. Yes! I got him! I don't believe it! Well, don't that just beat all? I have no money, all this platform buys is ore, and I have no ore. So I have no money, and they do not want to buy what I'm selling. Just like in real life. Maybe I'll have better luck next episode, and I hope to meet you there. Take care.